the whole time we've been abroad, 10 years, we've seen these stories materialize here in Ecuador, on the beach, on the coast, small towns. There's no set, type of place or statistics that you could say, oh, well, just stay out of big cities or stay out of this or stay out of that. There's no consistency. A lot of the times these happen, especially in small beach communities. There seems to be no apparent safety in small communities right here around Manta and Montañita. In Panama, it happened, with a couple of female hikers out in the mountains. Hey there, welcome to our channel. Today we're talking about solo female traveler found, unfortunately, raped and murdered on a Thai island. These kinds of situations happen all over the globe. It has happened in Ecuador, and when I say it has happened in Ecuador, I'm talking about solo female traveler or solo females, plural, traveler. It has happened in Ecuador, it has happened in Panama, it has happened in Mexico, and who knows where else it has happened. But I hate seeing these kinds of articles. She was a young female German backpacker. She was barely 26, and all she had to do, and this was in broad daylight, it was in a small town of 5,000 people. The guy was on drugs, and it was just a typical story of rape and murder. Before I say all that, though, I probably should say this. We've been talking about solo female traveler for over 10 years. We've been abroad 10 years, and we have a blog, which we started years ago. Now we focus mostly on the YouTube channel, but we had a blog called discovercuencaecuador.com, and the issue of solo female traveler came up quite often, and we gave our honest and sincere views on the subject. And we always have been consistent throughout the years and have always said that solo female traveler anywhere. I mean, we were just watching some shows last night, and solo female even in the US is a big problem. It always ends up the same way. These things end up in the end the same way as this story right here. So whether it's the US or Mexico or Ecuador or Thailand, the bottom line is that solo female traveler is, we've always discouraged it.
Okay, we got a question from Jennifer. I'd like to hear your thoughts on my plan. I plan to move solo to Ecuador for 3 months or more. This is for my health. I need the heat, and also to improve my Spanish. I believe I can optimize my safety based on the following. I will be staying in an Airbnb with another person, so I won't be alone in the house. I won't blend well since I'm 5'10", blue-eyed, and light-skinned, though I do have dark hair and plan to get a tan.
Sorry, you're still not gonna blend in.
Getting a tan, blending in. However, I have lived in Europe, Asia, and visited Guatemala and Cuba without incident. Okay, well, there's some experience in travel there, so I'm told that I exude confidence and am intimidating. Men never hit on me. Although I'm not hideous, I have decent spidey senses. Okay, well, it's good to be aware. When someone's staring at me, I stare back and until they look away. Okay. I wear only costume jewelry, I carry a dummy wallet, and I don't use cash unless I have to. I carry pepper spray. I don't get drunk. I plan to get a cheap phone for local use. I do like colorful, glamorous clothes, but we'll research what they're wearing in Ecuador and pack accordingly. It sounds like you're an experienced traveler. You've done a little bit of traveling. You understand not appearing lost or intimidated and being aware of your surroundings. So you're way ahead of the average tourist when you do those things. So that's a good thing. Clearly, if you travel and stay in the well-populated tourist areas, and it sounds like you're not looking for a nightlife kind of thing for the drinking, and so that right there is going to keep you out of a major portion of the problems. I don't want to discourage you. I think it sounds like you've got a little bit of travel savvy. Based on that, I would be careful with the Airbnb. You never know who you're going to be with. If you don't know who you're going to be with, it's not a good thing. Airbnb is also a potential problem because I've met people in their apartments that they got at Airbnb, and they couldn't tell over the internet, and it was not in a good neighborhood. Of course, they were older, but they didn't know they were getting 3 flights of steps with no elevator. The apartment was super tiny, and it was worth like $300, but they were paying $5 because they went online to Airbnb. It was furnished, had everything in it, but it was about 400 square feet, and it had no elevator. Yeah, everyone's sense of personal risk belongs to them. It's a personal issue, and therefore anytime you try to tell another adult that they're taking too much risk or not taking enough risk, they don't understand that because they have a different value system, and it's usually based on what they have experienced so far and what type of person they are. But I have to look at it like this. If you were my daughter, what would I tell you? And if you were my wife, what would I tell you? And if you were my mother, what would I tell you? Because to carelessly mislead people is not something that I would sleep well at night thinking that I might have done something like that.
The bottom line is that solo female traveler is, we've always discouraged it, but people do it. And people do it, and then this kind of a story comes up quite frequently, all the time. As the whole time we've been abroad, 10 years, we've seen these stories materialize here in Ecuador, on the beach, on the coast, small towns. There's no set, type of place or statistics that you could say, oh, well, just stay out of big cities, or stay out of this, or stay out of that. There's no consistency. A lot of the times these happen, especially in small beach communities. There seems to be no apparent safety in small communities. Right here around Manta and Montañita. In Panama, it happened, with a couple of female hikers out in the mountains. But for years, we took a lot of flack from readers of the blog Discover Cuenca Ecuador, and people always wanted to argue. And there's always this this group of people that think that all they have to do is argue, and then somehow the argument changes the facts. These are the facts. This is what happens. It's a very risky behavior. I don't have any daughters, but if I did, I certainly would explain to them all of these things. And of course, how people raise their children is personal, but coming from a believer family, you always have to explain that there's good and evil in the world, and that when you, behave in certain ways and pretend there's no evil, then you are taking the risk that you will become subject to that evil because you pretended that it doesn't exist, when in fact it does exist just about everywhere. So the town was a popular weekend tourist destination for both locals and foreigners. So there's no there's no trying to figure out, well, maybe if I go to this town and and maybe if it's this size, or maybe if it's just locals, or maybe if there's both foreigners and look, there's a lot of other tourists there, it'll be safe. No such thing. So, and it was just broad daylight. She was just out riding her motorbike, enjoying the sunshine, and just this this crazy young man decided that he was going to do this to this young woman that was by herself. So anyway, we bring you these kinds of stories so that you can understand and know that these stories do exist. They do happen on a regular basis. They happen in North America all the time, and they also happen in your favorite, retire abroad or nomad, digital nomad or tourist visiting place. Whatever you want to call it, they happen all over, even in small towns you would think are safe and nothing ever happens. Anywhere abroad, this can always happen. It always comes down to, we have always said, it always comes down to you. Thanks for watching. Leave us a comment, and thanks for coming to the channel, and have a nice day.